The palace corridors had always been cold, but on this particular night, they felt like they were lined with Meghan Markle, once hailed as the revolutionary duchess who dared to challenge centuries-old royal traditions, found herself at the epicenter of yet another storm, and this time it was not the tabloids, nor the courtiers, nor the ever-watchful public that turned against her, it was her own bloodline. The ultimate humiliation had arrived, not with a public statement, but with an unspoken agreement, a family decision made in hushed tones over crackling phone calls and bitter text messages. They would avoid each other, cut ties, retreat into silence after her latest farce turned into a grotesque international spectacle. The farce in question was meant to be her triumphant return to the global stage, a charity gala in New York, dripping with lights, cameras, and the promise. Meghan had orchestrated it as a moment of power, a keynote speech about family unity, resilience, and overcoming the shadows. But in her trademark fashion, the event spiraled into a cringe-inducing display of vanity, ending with an onstage monologue where she mocked her own relatives, painted them as leeches, and hinted at secret scandals no one could. The footage went viral within hours, not for its inspiration but for its sheer absurdity. A tone-deaf circus, the headlines screamed. A desperate stunt, said others. Her relatives, already walking on eggshells for years, now found themselves unwilling participants in a One cousin from her estranged side sent a furious email, "You've crossed the line this time. We cannot be your props." An uncle, who once defended her during the height of royal chaos, cut off all communication. Even her half-sister, long embroiled in public feuds with Meghan, found herself in the awkward position of receiving sympathy instead of scorn, as the tide of public opinion shifted violently against the Duchess. Behind the scenes, sources whispered of a secret family group chat renamed No More Drama where messages flew like daggers, screenshots of her speech, snippets of her interviews, old wounds resurfacing like ghosts. The Markle family, fractured and exploited for headlines for years, was now united in one grim mission: avoid each other entirely, for Meghan had poisoned even their attempts to There would be no Christmas gathering, no phone calls, no baby gifts for her children. Silence, they believed, was the only defense left. The humiliation deepened when the British tabloids seized on the rift, turning it into a week-long festival of "Even her own blood can't stand her," blared one front page next to a photo of Meghan mid-laugh, eyes flashing with something between defiance. Royal watchers speculated that this was the final nail in the coffin for any future rapprochement between her and the monarchy. If her own family has exiled her emotionally, why would the royals risk another scandal? One commentator mused during a primetime broadcast, as footage of Prince Harry walking alone through London streets played in the background, his face set in grim resignation. The ultimate humiliation was not just in the headlines or the family chat threads, it was in the silence. Meghan, used to the buzz of attention, found herself surrounded by advisors who refused to speak candidly, by friends who canceled dinners, by acquaintances who sent polite, distant texts instead of warm invitations. Even in California, her supposed sanctuary, the atmosphere shifted. Paparazzi now waited not for her radiant arrivals but for cracks to appear. Who would snub her next? Which relative would give the next cutting quote? The climax came during an impromptu live stream where Meghan, visibly shaken yet trying to mask it with her trademark smile, addressed the so-called rumors about her family rift. Her voice wavered as she insisted that she was focusing on positivity and that some people will always twist. But as comments flooded the stream, questions about why her relatives had unfollowed her, why her father's cousin had publicly called her latest act shameful, why even her mother had gone conspicuously silent, her facade cracked for a split. The mask of control slipped, revealing the raw frustration beneath. Analysts described it as her most human moment and yet, paradoxically, her most damaging one, because it confirmed what many suspected: the farce had backfired completely. What made this humiliation ultimate was the cruel symmetry of it all. Years ago, Meghan had accused the royal family of isolation, of coldness, of cutting her off when she needed them. Now, it was her own lineage doing the same, not with pomp and press releases but with absence, an absence more deafening than any public. The image of a duchess surrounded by glittering gowns and empty chairs became the metaphor of the season, a woman who wanted a legacy of connection, left with a legacy of avoidance. As the weeks went on, reports emerged that invitations to key family events were lost in the mail. One relative quietly revised their will. A godparent revoked a promise. Charity partners began to distance themselves, wary of becoming collateral damage in the Markle maelstrom. The palace, though officially silent, reportedly viewed the implosion with quiet relief. "It spares us the trouble," one insider allegedly remarked. For Prince Harry, caught between loyalty to his wife and a yearning for some form of reconciliation with his own blood, the timing could not have been worse. He was scheduled to attend a memorial in the UK within the month, but whispers suggested he would go alone. Meghan's name had been quietly removed from the program. The stage that was once theirs as a couple was now splintered, like the family ties she had tried to rewrite with her latest. And so the farce became a ghost story, one that haunted dinner tables, filled podcast scripts, and dominated whisper networks from London to Los Angeles. The ultimate humiliation was not a single act but a cascade, a gala turned spectacle, a family turned foe, a duchess turned cautionary tale. And somewhere in Montecito, behind manicured hedges and locked gates, Meghan Markle scrolled through headlines that once adored her and now dissected her downfall, while the relatives she had mocked sealed their pact of avoidance, not with a bang, but with the cold, enduring silence that follows a storm too bitter to